How to sharpen your social media strategy in China. Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Nancy Lan in Shanghai. Marketers are eager to connect with their customers through social media, especially in China. But many companies are uncertain how to employ platforms like Sina Weibo and Tencent WeChat effectively. This week on Thoughtful China, we are asking social media experts Tina Hu, Alison Au, and Angie Ao-Yong for advice to help you sharpen your social media strategy. And I'll share a thought or two of my own. But first with me is Wang Xiaofeng, an analyst at Forrester Research, author of a recent report, Winning Social Media Marketing in China. Xiaofeng, thanks for coming into the studio today. Obviously, your report is very interesting and you list 3 key points in your report. Firstly, companies tend to focus on real giants in the social platform, whether it's Renren or Sina Weibo or WeChat. But there are smaller players in the market like Douban or Papa or Zeping, which also have a strong niche presence. So why do you think these smaller platforms aren't breaking through as much? Is it because clients aren't educated enough about other options on the market, or are smaller players not really doing enough to push themselves out there?
In my opinion, most of the marketers, especially top marketers in China, they do realize there are niche social platforms in China such as Zepeng and Douban, but their priority in current stage is getting to the scale and brand awareness and broadcasting. So why they prefer use Sina Weibo, which has 500 million users, and Tencent WeChat, which is approaching 400 million users. So they are not currently interested in monetization yet.
So your second point is that companies may not be reaching the audiences they think they're reaching because they're really not basing their analysis on real data. Do you think there is enough data out there available for clients to look at and assess?
There are lots of data available for marketers to use, but there are not enough quality and valuable data, because marketers, if they have a Sina Weibo account, they will have the number of fans and forwards and click-throughs, such kind of data. But it's not helping marketers to target the real target audience they want to reach. For example, so top marketers in China, they believe they can use Sina Weibo to reach top tier 1 city consumers, and use Tencent Weibo to reach tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But our Forrester technographics data shows that both tier 1 and tier 2 cities, actually Sina Weibo has better reach.
So the third takeaway in your report is that brands really need to think about how they set objectives and how they use different platforms to reach their objective. So what are the best platforms to handle various objectives?
There are 5 basic objectives marketing need to want to achieve in social media marketing. So they are listening, talking, energizing, supporting, and embracing. So for different marketing objectives, there are different social platforms are better than the other ones. For example, if you want to talk to your customers, so you need a big fan base and lots of audience, and it's better for broadcasting. So Sina Weibo is a better platform than the others. But if you want to use for supporting, so WeChat, because it's one-on-one communication with your target audience, so that is better. So depends on what kind of market objectives you want to reach. Different platforms will perform differently.
So can you describe 1 or 2 specific mistakes that marketers are making in China when they deploy social media?
So I think generally Chinese marketers are making 3 major mistakes in social media marketing. First, regarding when they want to do social media marketing, they will think, okay, I want to do Sina Weibo, I want to Tencent WeChat. But that's not the right way to do that. At first, we have a post model. So they need to figure out P as for people. They need to know what kind of their target audience they want to reach. O is objectives. I talk about the 5 objectives, what kind of objective they want to reach. So, and the third one is strategy. Do they want to use video strategy or they want to use a mobile focused strategy? So that's a different story. And the last one is the technology. So kind of a Chinese marketers are started with the technology instead of the people, the target audience and the objectives.
And finally, which social platforms do you think is being under-recognised at the moment that marketers really should start paying attention to?
I think there are two kinds of social platforms are really promising, but marketers are not realized that yet. So the first is vertical ones, such as Wen, which is by Ma Fengwo. It's based on travel, social networking, and the other kind is such as Pop-Up, because they don't have lots of user base yet, but it's more like Instagram. They share photo and audio via your cell phone. So it will be really promising in the future for marketers to use them for reach their target audience.
Thanks for being on Thoughtful China, Xiaofeng. It's been a great talking to you.
Thank you.
In the last decade, I have worked in Australia, the UK, and now China. While China is a very different market, one common mistake brands make in social across all three continents is jumping into the game without a strategy and straight into execution. Here are some key stepping stones to a social strategy. First, understand what you want to achieve with your social program and how it aligns with your business objectives. Whether it is telling your brand story over time, or using it as a product development tool, or as a platform for customer service, it is crucial to understand the end goal before you start. Another critical step is to listen before you start. Understand what your consumers are saying about your product, your competitors, and the category in general. Thirdly, brands need to understand what content is valued by consumers, whether it's educational, entertainment, utility, or promotional value. Again, listening has a big part to play here, as well as other techniques such as search analysis to understand what consumers are looking for in your category. Finally, once the groundwork is done, we can move into developing an execution strategy. What personality do we want to create in social? What content should we deliver throughout the year, which may be aligned with seasonality? What above the line message do we want to amplify? All this feeds a content calendar which becomes a point of reference for your team. From there, we need to be even more granular. What should our publishing frequency be? What day of the week, what time of the day should we be publishing? All this should be based on data which is now accessible through social monitoring tools on the market. So, there are no simple shortcuts to winning in social, but these steps should help you make an informed decision about your social game plan. With me now are three regular guests on Thoughtful China: Tina Hu, General Manager and Head of Consulting Services at CIC, Alison Au, Group Account Director at Mailman, and Angie Aoyong, Digital Commerce Director, Bloom Commerce, and ex-National Digital Marketing Manager at VP Corp's Lee Jeans brand in China. Thanks for coming into the studio today. Tina, let's start with you. We know that content is fuel for social. So what sort of content do you think is driving the strongest engagement among social platforms?
Well, I think that we need to recognize that the nature of different social platforms are different. Therefore, there isn't one type of content that will work across all social platforms. And if we come back to a typical engagement platform like Weibo, then I'd say there are three kinds of content that would work very well. One would be incentivized, of course, especially among female targets. The second would be those involving celebrities. We had a recent example where a car brand had an endorser, Brad Pitt, and then easily the message reached 500,000 retweets. So you can imagine the multi-hundred million exposures among the target audience. And then the last type would be the kind of content which is very authentic. It's almost like a chatting amongst friends, like the brand is running a mini focus group. That would also work very well with the target audience.
So Angie, just picking up what Tina was saying, we know Chinese consumers are particularly driven by incentives, rewards or promotions. So how do marketers really have an effective discussion with their consumers using this tool? How do we know that they're speaking to the right customers while still using this as a tool to energize their fan base?
Right. From my very own experience, I have to agree that incentive and rewards are oftentimes the most effective ways to attract Chinese consumers to engage, at least in terms of number. And many brands are giving out branded premium or GWP gift with purchase or even actual products online. And I think they're doing a very good job in attracting consumers to experience their brand or products. For brands that are doing this, I would really suggest them to, or marketers to come up with, give ideas that one, give value to the consumers, give them something that they can use or that they can collect, and number two, ideas that are relevant to their brand. Because I'm still seeing, it may sound very straightforward, but I'm still seeing a lot of brands giving out irrelevant or very standard premiums online, and that could have no association with the brand at all.
Just following up on that a little bit, do you think where they're getting the right customers? So are they able to follow up and actually develop a long-term relationship, or is it very kind of, you know, on the spot, consumers really trying to get the latest gift with purchase but with no intention of actually developing real relationships with customers?
I think that since the number is so big, the majority of people who, of consumers who come to brands to collect their gift with purchase or giveaways are still just only after the gifts themselves, and that's why it could be a good opportunity for a brand to really impress their consumers. But for brands that are doing particularly well in this, I think it could be a long-term strategy, and it could be long-term benefits in there.
And Tina, do you want to pick up on some brands who aren't doing it particularly well, or just examples?
Oh yeah, we have done some studies, and then a particular brand in the beauty category, through different campaigns, we found out that, interestingly, when we're studying where the newly recruited fans are coming from, and then we see a very weird trend where a city in northwestern China kept coming up. So we kind of suspect that these are not the real people we want to recruit, because it could well be some manipulated fans behind that.
To add on Angie's point, the right incentives is really important. So for sports, so we manage, for example, Liverpool, Tottenham, Manchester United. These are the biggest football clubs in the world. The incentives itself is, is really important. So we always give out signed jerseys, signed footballs, and it always get a lot of tractions, and fans just love stuff like that, be it big or small, or even just a signed autograph, from a football player. So yeah, the right incentives is very important. I've seen campaigns where a fashion brand would give out 交通卡. 交通卡 is like transportation cards, and it's just you don't see the point. You're just getting people who, just want to come for the price, for the free stuff. So, and it's really not a good thing for your brand.
Right. So it's really about judging how we really attract real customers rather than opportunistic kind of freebie lovers.
Yeah. You're hitting the numbers, not the quality.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think the campaign, especially those incentivized ones, they need to work in order to lift the brand.
Yeah. Alison, part of your focus is using sports to connect consumers with brands, but obviously this has to be done quite carefully so that you're building a genuine kind of working relationship. What are some strategies that you are using to match brands with sports?
We usually find endorsement, using celebrities or athletes to endorse for the brands is usually very helpful. In fact, we created a red card a few months back, and we've done a lot of research, which we found that fans are actually, if a brand is endorsed by a celebrity or a football player, then it's actually 4 times higher to be followed by fans. So endorsement is the key to the success, I would say. But in terms of looking for your right audience, I think we always study the demographics of the audience, of the fans, and trying to find out where their passion points are and how we can connect with them with our content and also creative campaigns that we run. And then we empower them to engage with the brands. Say, for example, Liverpool. When we started in the beginning a year ago, when we created these social accounts on Weibo and Tencent, Sina Weibo and Tencent Weibo, we connected with 10 local football teams across China in different cities, Guangzhou, Shenzhen. And we were like, hey, we're opening an official Liverpool Weibo account. How about you guys join us? And then they, just very naturally want to get involved with us and help us out to reach out to their fans and announce the launch of the Weibo account. So now we've started from 0 to now we have 1.4 million fans on Liverpool account.
So, I mean, on the point of endorsements, we know that it can be very effective. Are you seeing that local celebrities or local kind of talent outperforms global, or is there a trend there that you're seeing?
So for example, Wahaha, one of the biggest drinks brand in China, they partnered with Manchester United last year. So this is a huge local brand, but then they have a big, massive Chinese audience, so Chinese consumers. So I think it really depends on what they're focusing on.
So given the mobile centrality of WeChat, which we know is exploding at the minute, what role can near-field communication play?
Well, I think for NFC, sounds like the barrier would lie in the handset, because the handset which has that kind of technology maybe placed at the premium segment, so that would be a price barrier. And then second, I think there might be some issues as to how much knowledge consumers have about NFC and what it can do.
And I think brands should be more careful when they use new channels like WeChat. I mean, we have new social or digital channels coming up all the time, and WeChat is definitely a very unique one because it's so close to consumers. But I'm seeing a lot of brands that are utilizing this channel without having thought out a very good strategy or the kind of tone that what they want to communicate with their consumers through. Like, for example, if a consumer interact with you through a text message or a voice message, like how are you going to respond to them? Or do you have someone 24/7 there to respond to them, or and like the format that you're going to talk to them through, the tonality, and yeah, I mean all of this should be considered before a brand jumping into using a new channel like WeChat, because it's very advantageous, but at the same time it could be dangerous for your brand as well.
Yeah, of course. It's obviously the biggest new thing at the moment. So are you seeing any brands that are doing this very well?
Not really. Let's cut that.
I think Starbucks did launch a campaign last year. So to ask fans or customers to send emoticon to Starbucks, and then based on what kind of mood you have today, they'll send you a song. I think that's pretty cool, like very creative content, sorry. I think the whole concept is cool. It's really direct response without having manpower to really do that manually on the back end.
Yeah, I think aside from marketing campaigns like that, there are numerous brands who use the WeChat platform as a CRM platform. Like, for instance, if I take a flight from Shanghai to Guangzhou, and then I can just follow that China Southern Airlines WeChat account, and then I send a text message, and then it will respond so that I can choose whether I want to sit in an aisle seat or a window seat. So that's I think that's a very common CRM concept. And then aside from that, I think that Nike has done it quite nicely. I'm saying that because we saw so many brands, they already have WeChat presence, and then you send a text message and then they respond, but it's all predefined contents. There's no real communication, no real interaction. But Nike, they don't push contents to you on WeChat platform. Instead, if you are following the Nike brand across different social platforms, you know what's going on other platforms. So if you're really involved fans, you then go to the WeChat platform and then you know exactly from other platforms what kind of messages you send to Nike, and therefore you get involved in a kind of campaign, like for the Nike ID, which is a the Nike ID, which is a platform where you can customize your own Nike products. So I think instead of pushing contents to you, which could be a bit intrusive, they did it in a different way, and I think it worked very well for very involved users.
And on that note, I think exclusivity is very important. You can't offer, 50% discount on Weibo and then you do it on WeChat and do it on Renren, and that's the fan growth would be slow. It would slow down the fan growth on the particular platform.
Talking about all these different platforms, are brands using them in an integrated way? So do they have an integrated strategy for using all these different platforms? Are you seeing this? So
different platforms, they have different demographics. So our clients do have multiple platforms on the social media. Our clients do have multiple platforms, but I think the key is really to study which platform is best for the brands and what kind of audience are you targeting. We would advise the client that if certain platforms are not really worth the investment, because you need to, of course, make sure that the content are consistent across all these platforms, while you find a way to specifically get the message across to the particular specific audience.
I think in addition to disseminating consistent messages across all the platforms, like what you just suggested, or some brands are doing it at the moment, another way of doing it is to really learn and study and find out what you want to achieve through each specific platform. So I think a very important but often missing step is usually the first step, actually, that brands are missing right now, is to come up with a content strategy or even just a content plan at the very beginning. And the plan should really include your content mix, the tonality, scheduling, frequency, the media format, etc., based on your brand personality, what you want to achieve through a specific platform, and the nature and strengths of each platform. And it should also include resource planning in it, as in who's the best person to talk about product features on a particular platform, or is it someone on the product team, or who's going to answer consumer inquiries or complaints? Is this the customer service representative? Or do you need a curator to centralize all the management and give the final green light before anything goes out on a particular platform? I think brands should really think carefully about that before they launch onto a particular platform. You can either have very consistent messages across all, or you can really tailor different messages in different forms according to the different platforms. It really depends on what you want to achieve, but the very important thing is to think about it at the beginning instead of just jumping onto the bandwagon and do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think oftentimes brands go into a new platform like WeChat because everyone else is there and therefore we want to be there. So I think we need to think about why do we want to be there instead of let's be there and then let's just roll out the activities.
I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest mistake is people having not done the pre-planning before they jump into it. Well, Tina, Angie and Alison, thank you so much for being on Thoughtful China.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That wraps it up today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Tudo and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo and Twitter, and join our LinkedIn group. See you again.